Good morning, Dr. Garg. Am I audible, sir?
Good morning, ma'am. You are perfectly audible.
Sir, next 2 minutes we'll be starting with the session. That would be okay with you?
Sorry, come again.
I said we'll be starting in next 2 minutes. That would be okay?
Sure, ma'am. Sure. Not an issue.
Thank you so much. I'm starting with the session now. Naval, sir? I'm starting with the session now. Is it okay?
Yes, ma'am, please.
Thank you. So a very warm welcome you all and a very good morning to every participant present over here. Welcome you all on the fourth session, and our fourth session is on questionnaire design. To let us know about this particular topic, that is questionnaire design, we have with us our honorable speaker, Dr. Naval Garg. Dr. Naval Garg is an assistant professor of human resource management and organizational behavior at Delhi Technical University, New Delhi. He has excellent track record of quality teaching infused with traditional Indian knowledge and spiritualism. He is also known for his research work in the domain of workplace spirituality, gratitude, and business ethics. He has published quality papers in various national journals that includes Current Psychology, Journals of Religion and Health, Asian Journals of Business Ethics, International Journals of Conflict Management. It includes more than 15 papers in reputed ABDC journal list with H index of 13. He has also conducted various trainings and workshops in diverse topics like spiritual quotient, being grateful in tiring times, ethics in modern organizations, etc. He has an extensive knowledge about all these things, and I hope each and every participant present over here would gain a good amount of information today and knowledge about this topic of questionnaire design. And definitely all will get a broader spectrum of how to go ahead with designing a questionnaire, whosoever is into either as a faculty, also as a scholar. So over to you. We are pleased to have you today here. The whole LCIT along with CSVTU and AICTE team is very happy to have you today here. Please, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Srivastav. Thank you very much. Let's start with the session right away. See, I'm not at my workplace, so I might have to switch off my camera. I think it is okay with you?
Definitely, sir.
There is some issue of bandwidth here. Give me a moment, please.
Sure, sir.
So good morning all. Today we'll be discussing a very relevant, very important, but mostly neglected topic, which is questionnaire designing. I hope my voice is clear.
Yes, sir.
Fine. So today we'll be discussing how to design a questionnaire. See, questionnaire designing is a very important step in our research process. And this step is particularly important for social science researchers who tends to collect their data through either questionnaire or through schedule. I have seen people or the researcher committing three type of common error while dealing with the questionnaire. Firstly, what we do, we randomly select statements to capture the variable that we want to measure. Suppose I want to measure workplace spirituality. So based on my experiences, what I would be doing, I would be selecting few statements of my choice, which is perfectly statistically incorrect. Second error that we usually commit, we use an established scale, like a scale is developed in the American or say Canadian context, or maybe some other countries context. We readily use those questionnaire in our research. It is okay to use established questionnaire. However, we need to check the psychometric properties of those questionnaire. Whether that particular questionnaire is relevant in my context or not, I need to know. We cannot blindly use an established questionnaire in our research work. And third type of error which I have seen is a hand and picking of the statement. Suppose I have a established questionnaire of workplace spirituality comprises of 26 statements. So I have seen a number of researchers committing such mistake that they would select, say, 13 statements out of these 26 statements of their choice, of their convenience, which is again statistically incorrect. Now, because of these three types of error, our results suffer. If I want to publish in a very good journal, I need to take care that my measuring tool, which in social science journal is a questionnaire or a schedule, should be perfect one, should be appropriate one. So today, we'll be discussing how to design a new questionnaire, how to deal with an established questionnaire, and again, okay, fine. So we'll start with questionnaire designing is both science and art. Like science, we have definite formulas, definite methods. Like if I want to boil the water, I need to put that water under the fire and need to wait till the temperature reaches 100 degrees Celsius. So whenever water achieves the temperature of 100 degrees Celsius, it will boil. And it will happen everywhere, whether it is in India, in America, or at any place within this earth. So I cannot say that questionnaire designing is a science, is only a science, because there is no perfect way or perfect method to design a questionnaire. And neither it is a art, which is purely subjective in nature. So it is a combination of both subjectivity and objectivity. So in next few slides, I will be discussing the various stages or the various steps of questionnaire designing. So there you will come across that few initial steps of the questionnaire design are subjective in nature, like item generation. Which items are to be uh, a part of my questionnaire? This will be highly subjective in nature. However, as soon as I theoretically derive my questionnaire, I need to put it through a stringent or rigid statistical analysis. That will be pure science part. So as I told you, it includes both subjectivity and objectivity. So in that sense, we'll be using both qualitative and quantitative analysis in questionnaire designing. So in nutshell, I have seen a number of students, number of scholars completing their doctoral thesis, PhD thesis only on designing a simple questionnaire. So questionnaire designing is such a tedious or such a complex process that even you can complete your thesis in designing a simple questionnaire. So I will be talking to you regarding three forms of questionnaire designing. First is when you want to develop a new skill. One of my scholar was studying human computer interaction. There she came to know, there she identified a research gap, that there is a scarcity of scale available to measure digital citizenship. So now, in order to measure this phenomena, she need to derive a new scale. So this is new scale. Second is adoption of conceptually similar scale. What we do in it, again, another student was again looking at human computer interaction. There she find a word known as algorithm aversion. I believe you all people are aware with this word, algorithm aversion, wherein let it be an interactive session. You need not to wait till the end to raise your queries. If you find anything, which is not understandable by you right at this moment, you can interrupt in between. Fine. आप बीच में बात कर सकते हैं. If you feel you need to interrupt me, am I going too far? If I'm going too fast or too slow, or it's going too technical, you can interrupt in between. Fine. So there is a word algorithm aversion, which says that it is in human psychology to not to use algorithm, whatever the superiority of the algorithm is, and believe in human instinct. Fine. Suppose you are using your Amazon, and Amazon is suggesting you to purchase certain item. You will not blindly follow the suggestions given by that algorithm. Rather, you will go for your instinct. This is algorithm aversion. So while she came across the research gap that there is hardly a scale available to measure algorithm aversion. So what we did, first option we had was to develop a new scale. Second option, what we did, we came across a scale of xenophobia. What is xenophobia? It is, fear of some foreign culture. And when I use algorithm aversion in organizational workplace, one of the conceptual definition of algorithm aversion at the workplace is fear of technology dominated culture. So we evaluated that both xenophobia and algorithm aversion at the workplace are conceptually similar concept, because in both the concepts there is certain fear. In xenophobia, it is the fear regarding the foreign culture, and in algorithm aversion at the workplace, it is fear for, again, a foreign culture dominated by the technology. In today's organization, the culture is being dominated by the human. But when you apply all the algorithm, all the artificial intelligence in your organization, all the decisions are automated. There is a fear among the employees that the culture will be dominated by the technology. So we find these two concepts conceptually similar to each other. So what we did, we rephrased the statement of xenophobia to match our context. Like, say, one statement was, I don't feel the inclusion of foreign people will be conducive for my culture. So we rephrased this statement as, inclusion of technology will not be conducive for the for the growth of the employees. So what we simply did, we simply rephrased the statement of that questionnaire to match our context. I believe I'm clear up to now. Any doubt till now? Hello, am I audible? Clear? Fine. And third is validation. Thank you, Mr. Chawla. And third is validation of existing scale. So as I discussed you earlier, that we generally use already existing scales. Like some scale is developed, like I preferably work in the field of workplace spirituality, gratitude, and business ethics. So most of my example will be from that field only. I'm sorry for that. See, just 2 years ago, I started working on the field of the gratitude. There I find that there are few scales available, few scales to measure gratitude. But all those scales were developed in the Western context. Now in social sciences, we all know that these measuring tools differ from culture to culture. For sciences, it is quite easy. If I need to measure temperature of an American, I can use the same thermometer. The same thermometer can be used for an Indian, for a Chinese, or for a Pakistani. The same measuring tool could be used for the people of different culture. However, in the case of social sciences, it is not true. the questionnaire that I used or the schedule that I used to measure certain phenomena for an American or for a Canadian cannot be used in the Eastern context. Moreover, the questionnaire that is used to measure certain phenomena for, say, people above 60 years might not be useful for the young people. Therefore, before I use certain scales for my population, my sample, I need to check the psychometric properties of that scale in context of my sample. I hope I'm clear up to now. So the one is new scale development. You develop totally a new scale to understand or to measure a phenomena which is not measured till now. Second is, instead of going through this entire or lengthy process of new scale development, you look for a conceptually similar phenomena. You phrase the statement of that questionnaire according to your context, and then you check the psychometric properties of that scale, rephrased scale. And third is, you use the existing scale. It's okay to use the existing scale, but before using the existing scale, you check the psychometric. By psychometric property, I mean to check the reliability and the validity of that questionnaire in your context. So next is, this is the process of new scale development. So we generally follow, you might find different stages or different step in different RM book. But conceptually, we use these 6 steps or the stages to develop a new scale. So by reading these scales, these steps, you will agree with my statement that questionnaire development is equivalent to a doctoral thesis. Even I have seen few theses from IITs and NITs. Few of the theses were totally dedicated to development of questionnaire only. Fine. And I have also published a few papers in developing or in analyzing or validation of the existing scales in very good journals. So it is because it is statistically so rich that every journal prefers such papers. So the first step is conceptual clarity, then item generation, content validation. So first, these 3 steps are qualitative in nature. These are highly subjective in nature. And next 3 steps, starting from factorial structure, reliability and validity testing, and invariance study, they are quantitative in nature. By quantitative, I mean you will be using statistical analysis for these 3 steps. So starting with the very first thing, conceptual clarity. The very first step to design a questionnaire is to clarify the concept. Let me give you a few examples. I was looking for a scale to measure the phenomena of gratitude. कि एक बंदा कितना कृतज्ञ महसूस करता है उस I hope everybody is okay with Hindi also. Any issue with Hindi, a mix of Hindi and English will work. Fine, Mr. Subhash, thank you. So I was to measure a phenomena which is known as gratitude, an experience of gratitude. कि मैं कितना कृतज्ञ महसूस करता हूं उसको मेजर करने के लिए I required a questionnaire. So first, say I want to develop a new questionnaire in Indian context. So I need to know the definition of gratitude from the Indian perspective. I started to explore the literature. So very first process in questionnaire designing is to go through the existing literature. So when I explored the existing literature, I find that the majority of the researches were conducted in the Western context. But I need to develop a scale in the Indian context. So I need to know the underlying foundation of gratitude in the Indian context also. So I need to go through the epics or the scriptures, Indian scriptures, to understand what gratitude in India means. So after going through both the literature, Western literature dominated by science, positive psychology, and Indian literature dominated by scriptures, I find a striking difference between the conceptualization of gratitude in 2 cultures. In Western culture, gratitude is a phenomena which is between benefactor and beneficiary. एक बंदा गिफ्ट देगा, दूसरा बंदा गिफ्ट लेगा. इसके ऊपर उनका कृतज्ञता का कॉन्सेप्ट पूरा निर्भर करता था. It is between the relationship of benefactor and beneficiary. As per Western concept, I will be grateful only when I receive some valuable gift from some other person. However, in the Indian concept, I find that Indian concept of gratitude is independent of gifts. We celebrate a number of festivals. We have just celebrated the Holi. Now, one of the reason to celebrate Holi is to thank the nature for its diversity. See, we have number of colors, number of fruits. भगवान एक तरह का फूल दे सकता था हमें. It could be one type of flower only. It could be it could be black and white life only. But nature has gifted it with so many colors, so many. There could be similar faces of all the people. एक जैसे से दिखते हैं, एक जैसी से आवाज, एक जैसी से personality बन सकती थी. But nature has given us so much diversity, so much differences. So Holi is a festival to say thanks for that thing, for this diversity. So in India, I realized that the concept of gratitude is independent of benefactor-beneficiary relationship. So the scale that the Western scholars or the Western researchers were using in their researches to measure the gratitude might not work in the Indian context. I hope you agree with my contention, my point. Hello. Only Mr. Subhash is replying. All are there. Am I clear with you? Or बोल भी सकते हैं? You can switch on your mic. You can speak up also. Fine. Thank you, Ms. Pragya. So conceptual clarity now, by going through the Indian literature, I got one clarification that Indian concept of gratitude is independent of benefactor-beneficiary relationship. Fine. Now I need to derive a definition of gratitude in order to measure my this variable. Secondly, I need to define the construct कि gratitude के अंदर क्या क्या पढ़ना है मुझे. So when I explored the another literature, I find the concept of rinas. In India, there is a concept of rinas. It's a pitra rin, guru rin, matra rin. ऐसे करके हमारे scriptures में there are certain rinas. Rinas are simple the expression of our thankfulness or gratitude of various people, like our parents and ancestors, our teachers and the mentors, the knowledge available all around us, the nature which gives us so much. So there I find various construct of gratitude through which the questionnaire pertaining to Indian population could be developed. Let's give me another example. I was looking for a scale to measure workplace spirituality. So again, majority, although the concept of spirituality and gratitudes, it is being said that they originated in the Eastern land, but unfortunately, most of the scientific study on the spirituality and the gratitude were done by the Western scholars. So when I started to analyze the various construct of workplace spirituality, although they were construct like sense of community, there were construct like meaningful work at the workplace, compassion at the workplace, trust at the workplace, it's fine. But when I explored the Indian literature, I find karma capital. You might have heard about the karma capital, which we call it, in Gita, we call it karma yoga. So Indian concept of workplace spirituality is incomplete without karma capital, which says that we should devote our 100% dedication without expectations or without favorishness of the fruit. So Indian concept, whatever the dharma in an Indian follow, the concept of the karma capital is there. So in any questionnaire to measure workplace spirituality in Indian context is incomplete without this construct. And again, I find that the Western conceptualization of workplace spirituality does not include gratitude. However, in India, all the religions, they give major value to the Kritagyata, major value to the gratitude. So I proposed that an Indian questionnaire of workplace spirituality must include these two variables. One is karma capital and second is gratitude. So this is what I mean by the conceptual clarity. I must go through the available literature, both the science-based literature and our ancestor, our literature available in the indigenous literature, Indian literature, so as to clarify the definition of the construct. definition of the variable. Secondly, various construct of the variable, कि वर्क प्लेस स्पिरिचुअलिटी के अंदर मुझे क्या क्या पढ़ना है, मेरी वर्क प्लेस स्पिरिचुअलिटी की डेफिनेशन क्या है. सिंपल ले मैं इसको, मोटिवेशन. Suppose I want to measure the motivation. So what is the definition of motivation for me? What all things I need to measure in the motivation? मोटिवेशन के अंदर क्या मेजर करूं? जब मुझे पता लगेगा मेजर क्या करना है, उसी के बाद मैं आइटम स्टेटमेंट्स जनरेट कर सकता हूं. So there could be various methods to have a conceptual clarity. We oftenly use literature review, wherein we go through the available literature. So my suggestion, my recommendation while you go through the literature is you look for some very good paper published in some reputed journals. Yes, Miss Alka? Alka Sharma ji, you raised your hand. Do you have any query? Miss Alka? Okay, might be by mistake. So when you go through the literature, my personal suggestion or recommendation is you select one paper on systematic literature review, one paper on bibliometric analysis while you do your the clarity of the concepts. These two papers, one on systematic literature review related to your topic, and second on bibliometric analysis of your topic, will give you an in-depth understanding of various definitions available, वेरियस टाइप्स ऑफ कंस्ट्रक्ट अवेलेबल. आपको सारे पेपर ढूंढने की जरूरत नहीं है. सपोज आई वांट टू टुडे अंडरस्टैंड द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ एल्गोरिथम अवर्जन, तो मुझे क्या करना है, 2022 या 2021 में एल्गोरिथम अवर्जन पे कोई सिस्टमेटिक लिटरेचर रिव्यू, कोई बिब्लियोमेट्रिक पेपर अच्छे रेप्यूटेड जर्नल में जो पब्लिश हुआ है उसको निकालना है. नाउ व्हाट इज द बेनिफिट ऑफ सच पेपर? एक मैंने पेपर निकाला एल्गोरिथम अवर्जन का से ऑन बिब्लियोमेट्रिक एनालिसिस, सो इट विल गिव मी ए समरी ऑफ research is conducted on the topic of algorithm aversion in the last 20-30 years. So I need not to search for all the papers available on the various platforms. एक simple paper पढ़ने से, 2-3 bibliometric analysis के paper पढ़ने से the entire various definitions, various concepts सब कुछ clear हो जाएगा. So one and the very good method for conceptual clarity is you go for literature review, wherein you specifically focus upon two things. One is systematic literature review, second is bibliometric analysis. For few new concepts that are not readily available, for which systematic literature review or the paper researches are not readily available, you can go for focus group discussion, wherein you will be inviting a few experts in the field and you will be asking for their views. One of my scholar was studying techno-ethical orientation. So when we explored the existing literature, we came across that there is no scale available to measure techno-ethical orientation. There are scales to measure ethical orientation, but to measure techno-ethical orientation, no scale was available. So it was a new scale development, no existing literature available. So we go for focus group discussion, wherein we invited various professors and various practitioners in the field of both ethics and as well as technology. So while discussing with them, we noted down various constructs. What should be included in techno-ethical orientation? Third, it could be an interview with the experts. If the time and the resources doesn't allow you to, collate all the experts at the same time at the same place, again you can go for interviews and observation. Certain phenomena cannot be understood through interviews or through focus group discussions. Like you want to understand certain phenomena in kids, you cannot interview a kid, you cannot have a focus group discussion on the kid. Or like you want to measure certain phenomena, understand certain phenomena on the people who are mentally challenged. So you need to use the method known as observation. You will be simply observing them, and based on your experience and expertise, you will come across the operational definition. Now, what is the what I mean by conceptual clarity is you give an operational definition to your variable and various construct of your variable. So when I started writing papers, they were even rejected by Scopus Index Journal. Then slowly and steadily I realized here one thing, that all the journals demand one operational definition of my main variable. Suppose I am studying workplace spirituality. So I will be quoting the work of, say, Mr. Pandey from IIT Mumbai, or say some foreign author, but they will demand a definition from me also. The researcher need to give an operational definition. What I mean by workplace spirituality in my study. This is what I mean by operational definition. So through going through the available literature, or through focus group discussion, or discussion with some experts, or through observation, I need to come with the 2 points. Firstly, operational definition of my variable, and second, what are the various constructs that are to be included in my variable. Suppose I want to measure customer satisfaction. So what is my definition of this customer satisfaction? Is my definition including customer happiness, customer loyalty, customer retention? What I mean by customer satisfaction. I hope conceptual this slide is clear. Conceptual clarity. I'm taking your silence as your permission to go forward. Thank you for the confirmation. Second step is item generation. Now, as soon as I am clear with the definition and the various construct to be included in my variable, I am again taking the example of gratitude. When I explored Indian literature, I came across the concept of rinas. As a human being, we have various rinas. Rinas in Hindi, in English means debts. I have various debts to repay. कुछ मेरे पे कर्ज है जो मुझे वापस देना है as an expression of their thankfulness. Like the debt of my parents and forefathers, जिनके कारण मुझे ये personality मिली, इस परिवार में पैदा हुआ. So I am thankful. So thankful for my parents and my forefathers. So one construct is Pitraran. Second construct was I should be grateful to my teachers and my mentors, to all those people in my life who has contributed some knowledge in me. Third, I am grateful for all the nature who has given me so many things, and so on. There are 5 types of rinas. So I know that my definition of Kritagita is gratefulness for these 5 things. So Pitrarin एक construct निकल के आया. Now I will be generating statements. How to measure this Pitrarin? So it will be like, I feel very obliged to serve my parents. I am there whenever my parents require me. I often take my parents for nature walk. भाई उनकी health decline हो रही है, तो as a symbol of my gratitude मैं उनकी health का ध्यान रखता हूँ. So this is what I mean by item generation. आप कैसे झांकना चाहेंगे उस वेरिएबल के अंदर? जैसे अनदर एग्जांपल, वर्कप्लेस स्पिरिचुअलिटी में आई से कि आई नीड टू मेजर कर्मा कैपिटल. सो इस कर्मा कैपिटल को मेजर करने के लिए कौन सी स्टेटमेंट बनानी है? तो इट इज हाईली सब्जेक्टिव इन नेचर. आई पुट माई 100% इन वट एवर आई डू. आई एम नॉट I often do work without fear of failure. This is what I mean by item generation. I hope my voice is clear. Thanks, Pragya. So this is how we generate the items. So there are various do and don'ts that we must take care while generating items. Items means statements. The statements of the questionnaire. So review of existing scales. It will give you an idea of how to design the statements. Socio-cultural consideration. It is of utmost consideration. While designing a questionnaire, I need to take care for which society, which cultural background I am designing this questionnaire. The language or the words that are common in the Western culture might not be so common in the Eastern culture. जो बात मैं बुजुर्ग से जिस लैंग्वेज में पूछ सकता हूं, I cannot use the same language for kids or for adult. Suppose I want to measure internet literacy. तो अगर मैं आज के बच्चों से पूछूं तो दे आर क्वाइट एफिशिएंट, दे आर टेक्नो सेवी. उनसे एब्रीविएशन वर्ड OTT प्लेटफॉर्म क्या होता है, कितना MB, कितना डाटा यूज करते हैं, स्पीड क्या है, इन सारी चीजों की बात कर सकते हैं. हाउएवर if I want to check technology self-efficacy or internet self-efficacy of all elder people, say above 60, I cannot use these words. मुझे चेक करना पड़ेगा कि आपको इंटरनेट यूज करना आता है, क्या आप अपना नेट बैंकिंग उस पर यूज कर पाते हैं, क्या आप पीपीटी बना पाते हैं. Getting the same phenomena of internet self-efficacy might not have similar type of statements for two different population. So I need to take care of social, economical consideration, socio-cultural and socio-economical consideration. Let me give you another example to understand this. Like I want to measure the concept of religion. कि धर्म क्या है, मैं ये मेजर करना चाहता हूँ. So in various dharmas like Buddhist dharma or Jain, they do not have a concept of God, or even they do not have concept of spirit. आत्मा का concept नहीं है उनके. However, in the Hinduism, we do have concept of God and spirit. In Christianity, again, we do have concept of God, but no spirit. Getting? So, if I need to measure, if I need to construct a scale to measure religion in Hinduism, it will include statements related to God and spirit. However, if I need to measure the same thing in the say Buddhist religion, I cannot use the word spirit of God. There I need to use the word within. I rely on myself instead of I rely on God. So social cultural consideration is of utmost importance when I or you develop a scale. Then the language should be very simple. Whatever the statement you make, it should not contain jargon. Technical words should be avoided. It should be simple, short, and crispy. Double barrel question should be avoided. Double barrel question is two questions are inscribed in a single statement. Like, suppose you want to measure whether your customer like your ice cream or not, and you ask whether you like the color and the quality of my ice cream. Now it is known as double barreled question. One particular respondent might like the taste of the ice cream and might not like the color of the ice cream. वो क्या करे, कहाँ पे टिक करे? तो double barrel question is when you include two questions in a single statements. अब यहाँ पे कंज्यूमर आपका रिस्पोंडेंट है, इट माइट गेट कंफ्यूज्ड. हो सकता है एक में वो यस लिखना चाहता हो, दूसरे में नो लिखना चाहता हो. Clear? Then avoid jargons and abbreviation. Jargon means technical words. Try, because you are the expert of your field, and your population or your sample is general people, common people who might not be very clear or very versed with the technical words or abbreviation. Like you use word OTT platform commonly use कर लेते हैं, but लेकिन might be your population or your sample is not aware with this word, तो आप पूरा use करना पड़ेगा आपको. The negative statements, it is an issue of contention. There are huge debates on this issue whether to include the negative statement in your questionnaire or not, or reverse coded statements in your research or not. Few scholars says that we should include reverse coded statement in order to avoid the respondent's error or random error. However, few researchers says that inclusion of negative statements or reverse coded statements brings confusion in the mind of respondents, which leads to a poor psychometric or poor validity of our results. Although there is no consensus, now based on your research, you may use negative statements or may not use negative statements, but purely depending upon your questionnaire, what your theme is. Then the ordering of the questionnaire should be like easy and the simple and the short question should come ahead. Then longer or the complex question should come later. Or if you have certain logic in your questionnaire, then that logic should prevail. Equal number of statements in each construct. This is advisable from the statistical point of view. क्योंकि मान लीजिए आपने suppose taking the same example, workplace spirituality. मैंने कहा I would be measuring this workplace spirituality through three variables: variable A, variable B, variable C. Now, if variable A has 8 statements, variable B 2 statements, and variable C say 3 statements. So when I calculate the mean overall workplace spirituality, तो सबसे ज्यादा इफेक्ट इसमें A का आ गया है, क्योंकि A की 8 statements हैं. रीडिंग अगर मैं उनका सम निकालता हूं तो ए का सबसे ज्यादा इंपैक्ट आ गया ओवरऑल वर्कप्लेस स्पिरिचुअलिटी. So it might happen instead of measuring overall workplace spirituality, I might have measured only A. So it is advisable that we must have almost equal number of statements in our questionnaire to measure each and every construct. I hope you are clear with the item generation. Then content validation. After you generate all the statements or all the items of your questionnaire, you need to validate these content, validate these statements with the help of subject matter expert. We use the word SME, subject matter experts. आपने क्वेश्चनियर पूरा डिजाइन कर लिया अपने तरह से बेस्ड ऑन द कॉन्सेप्चुअल क्लैरिटी, you design your statements, but before going to the statistical analysis you must go to subject matter experts. So there are two waves of validation. In first wave of validation you will say go to 5 6 7 10 subject matter expert. आप उन्हें अपना शो करेंगे कि ये क्वेश्चनियर हमने बनाया है, but you will not tell them कि what this scale tends to measure. आप उनसे ये हाइड करेंगे कि आप मेजर क्या करना चाहते हैं. फिर आप उनसे पूछेंगे कि आपको क्या लगता है व्हाट दिस स्किल टेंड्स टू मेजर, क्या मेजर कर रहा है. अगर वो करेक्ट का बता पाते हैं तो योर फर्स्ट वेव ऑफ वैलिडेशन इज करेक्ट. देन फर्स्ट वेव ऑफ वैलिडेशन में आप दूसरी चीजें पूछेंगे. एक बार उन्होंने बताया फिर आप बताएंगे द एक्चुअली आई वांट टू मेजर वर्कप्लेस स्पिरिचुअलिटी. नाउ यू आस्क देम आर द कंटेंट करेक्ट, इज इट कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव इनफ, और I have forgotten to include certain variables. आप कस्टमर सेटिस्फेक्शन मेजर करना चाहते हैं और आपने मान लीजिए कस्टमर रिटेंशन का पॉइंट छोड़ दिया है, तो आपका एक्सपर्ट बता सकता है कि यू नीड टू इंक्लूड कस्टमर रिटेंशन ऑल्सो. क्लियर. आपने कस्टमर रेफरल का पॉइंट छोड़ दिया है, तो वन ऑफ योर एक्सपर्ट माइट आस्क कि अगर आपका कस्टमर हैप्पी है तो ही विल रेफर योर सर्विसेज टू अदर्स ऑल्सो. So you must include this customer referral in your questionnaire also. This is what I mean by content validation and comprehensiveness of your question. Second wave of questionnaire is clarity and essentiality. Are your statements clear? Is inclusion of this particular statement essential? कभी ऐसा तो नहीं है दो सिमिलर सी स्टेटमेंट्स डाल दिए मैंने, या मैंने 6 स्टेटमेंट डाली है एक वेरिएबल को मेजर करने के लिए, 3 से ही काम चल रहा है. So these are waves of validation. In first wave of validation we'll be doing content validation and comprehensiveness of my questionnaire, whether it includes all the different constructs of my variable. And in second wave of validation I will be looking at the statements. क्या statements rightly framed है, उनका grammar ठीक है, clear है, जो meaning आप pursue करना चाह रहे हो वही meaning दे रही हैं वो. And second is essentiality. Is it necessary or mandatory to include this statement in my questionnaire, या इसके बिना भी काम चल सकता है. तो these first 3 steps are qualitative in nature. अभी तक हमने qualitative बात किया, starting from conceptual clarity, operational definition, the clarity of various construct to be included in my variable. Second is generation of the item, and third is validation with the help of subject matter expert. So any doubt up to now? Okay, Mr. Subhash, any doubt from anyone else? Okay, Ms. Vagish. Okay. Fine. So I think I can move ahead now. Now, after you do content validation, now next step is to check out the factorial structure of your questionnaire. Now, what I mean by factorial structure is, now let me talk to you in very simple words. What I mean by factorial structure is, suppose my questionnaire has 3 constructs. I think you are clear with the word construct. कि वर्कप्लेस स्पिरिचुअलिटी में मैं क्या क्या मेजर करना चाहता हूँ. लाइक सेंस ऑफ कम्युनिटी इज 1 construct, gratitude is 1 construct, compassion is 3rd construct, meaningfulness of work is 4th construct. So क्या क्या मैं मेजर करना चाहता हूं एक बड़े वेरिएबल के अंदर, उसको मैं कंस्ट्रक्ट कहता हूं। उनको हम फैक्टर भी बोल देते हैं। अगर मैं स्टेटिस्टिकल टर्म्स की बात करूं तो वी मे यूज द वर्ड फैक्टर ऑल्सो, ऑल्दो वेरियस रिसर्चर विल डिसएग्री विद दिस माय ओपिनियन, बट वी कैन यूज द वर्ड फैक्टर ऑल्सो। तो फैक्टोरियल वैलिडिटी में हम क्या करते हैं, हम सिंपल ये चेक करते हैं, मान लीजिए आपने आई इवॉल्व ए क्वेश्चनियर ऑन वर्कप्लेस स्पिरिचुअलिटी। अच्छा, जो फर्स्ट 3 स्टेप्स बताए थे मैंने, फर्स्ट 3 स्टेप्स आर एसेंशियल फॉर ए न्यू स्केल डेवलपमेंट, बट इफ यू आर यूजिंग एन एग्जिस्टिंग स्केल और इफ यू आर रीफ्रेजिंग ए सिमिलरली कॉन्सेप्चुअली सिमिलर स्केल, पहले 3 स्टेप आपने नहीं करने, यू विल डायरेक्टली कम फॉर द 4th स्टेप। अब देखिए, मान लीजिए मैंने एक स्केल लिया ग्रेटिट्यूड का, जिसके अंदर 3 कंस्ट्रक्ट है। वन इज लैक ऑफ सेंस ऑफ डेप्रिवेशन, सेकेंड इज सिंपल एप्रिसिएशन, थर्ड इज एप्रिसिएशन फॉर अदर्स। लैक ऑफ सेंस ऑफ डेप्रिवेशन में 4 स्टेटमेंट्स हैं, बाकी दोनों में 3-3 है, मान लीजिए ऐसा हमने एक स्केल लिया। तो बाय फैक्टोरियल स्ट्रक्चर का मतलब क्या है, मैं डेटा कलेक्ट करूंगा इसके ऊपर, उस डेटा को 2 पार्ट में डिवाइड करना है। से आई कलेक्टेड ए डेटा ऑफ समवेयर अराउंड 500 पीपल, 250 के 2 सब सैंपल बनाने हैं। ऑन फर्स्ट सब सैंपल आई विल conduct exploratory factor analysis. I believe you are clear with factor analysis. So on the very first subsample, I will be doing factor analysis. अब when you do factor analysis, एक वहां पे डाउट आता है whether to go with Varimax rotation or Oblimin rotation. So few researchers says that conceptually we believe that construct number 1 should not be identical with construct number 2, कि जो लैक ऑफ सेंस ऑफ डेप्रिवेशन मेजर कर रहा है वही सिंपल एप्रिसिएशन मेजर नहीं करना चाहिए, इसलिए मुझे वेरीमैक्स रोटेशन यूज करना चाहिए, बिकॉज वेरीमैक्स रोटेशन गिव्स फैक्टर्स व्हिच आर इंडिपेंडेंट टू ईच अदर। हाउएवर इन साइकोलॉजिस्ट और सोशल साइंसेस सेज कि इन सोशल साइंसेस और इन साइकोलॉजी 2 कंस्ट्रक्ट्स आर ऑलवेज रिलेटेड टू ईच अदर। जैसे हम मैथ्स में ग्राफ बनाते हैं एक्स और वाई, एंड एक्स और वाई आर नॉट रिलेटेड टू ईच अदर, दे आर एट द 90 डिग्री सेल्सियस, 90 डिग्री एंगल की बात करें तो 90 डिग्री पे होते हैं वो। However, in the case of sociology or psychology or social sciences, we cannot have 2 variables at 90 degree to each other. कहीं ना कहीं वो वेरिएबल में कुछ ना कुछ रिलेशन मिलेगा, इसलिए we should use Oblimin rotation, which says that there exists certain relationship between 2 factors. Am I going too technical or okay with you? I need to tone down my language, simple करूं या is it okay? I believe I am talking with all the research scholars. Okay, fine, thank you. So first and foremost step of factorial structure verification is you divide your entire sample into 2 equal parts, maybe using systematic sampling. What we do in systematic sampling, जैसे एक सिंपल सा मेथड बताता हूं आपको, सारे जो ओड सैंपल्स हैं, रिस्पॉन्सेज हैं 1, 3, 5, उनको सब सैंपल 1 में डाल दिया आपने, 2, 4, 6, 8 इनको सब सैंपल 2 में डाल दिया। नाउ यूजिंग सब सैंपल 1 यू वुड डू एक्सप्लोरेटरी फैक्टर एनालिसिस। एक्सप्लोरेटरी फैक्टर एनालिसिस से आपको पता लगेगा कि जो आपकी स्टेटमेंट्स हैं whether they generate same number of variables, same number of construct or not. After you do exploratory factor analysis, either using Varimax rotation or Oblimin rotation, you go for confirmatory factor analysis, either in MOS or PLS or whatever software you like. So the purpose of CFA and EFA is, see, exploratory factor analysis explores the factor, and confirmatory factor analysis confirms your factorial structure. So these two, EFA and CFA, will reveal कि जो आप दिमाग में लेके चले हैं कि मेरे क्वेश्चनियर के अंदर ये 4 वेरिएबल होंगे और इन 4 वेरिएबल के अंदर ये 3-3 स्टेटमेंट होंगी, whether this your concept is identical to the data collection or not. क्या आपका डेटा आपके इस कॉन्सेप्ट में फिट हो रहा है या नहीं हो रहा। कभी कभी हो सकता है मैं शुरू में तो 4 वेरिएबल फैक्टर लेके चला, लेकिन CFA ने उसको 3 में कन्वर्ट कर दिया। दैट मीन्स मेरे 2 फैक्टर्स ओवरलैपिंग थे, तो मुझे वहां पे उनको मर्ज करना पड़ेगा एज पर स्टेटिस्टिक्स। since we are short of time, so I will not be elaborating on EFA and CFA more, but these are two essential steps of न्यू स्केल डेवलपमेंट और वैलिडेशन ऑफ एग्जिस्टिंग स्केल. अगर आप कोई एग्जिस्टिंग स्केल को वैलिडेट करना चाहते हैं तो फर्स्ट स्टेप विल बी फैक्टोरियल स्ट्रक्चर. यू कलेक्ट द डेटा, यू चेक आउट फॉर EFA, एंड जो EFA ने डेराइव किया है यू गो फॉर CFA. अच्छा, बिफोर अप्लाइंग EFA you check the suitability of the data for factor analysis, कि whether my collected data is suitable for application of factor analysis or not. तो उसके लिए आप क्या करते हैं, you do KMO and Burt-Less test of sphericity. ये सुने होंगे आप सबने, whosoever have used factor analysis. So first and foremost step to use factor analysis is use check for KMO test and Burt-Less test. These two tests concludes or recommends whether your data is appropriate for factor analysis or not. अगर यही दोनों टेस्ट आपके insignificant आ जाते हैं, then you cannot go ahead. You cannot factorize your data. If the finding KMO value is greater than 0.7 and Burt-Less sphericity test is significant, then you go ahead and go for EFA. You use either Varimax rotation or Oblimin rotation based on your experience, your expertise. Then on the model derived from EFA, you apply CFA. So after application of CFA, you can say if all the values, all the model fit indices are correct, you can say my questionnaire is now factorial valid. I have checked the factorial validity of my questionnaire. Am I clear up to now? I have checked the factorial validity of my questionnaire. I hope I'm clear up to now. Then after factorial validity, I will be measuring reliability and validity of my questionnaire or my model derived through EFA or CFA. See, it might happen कि मैं इनिशियल में जो स्केल लेके चला था उसमें से 27 स्टेटमेंट्स थी और 5 वेरिएबल, 5 फैक्टर्स थे, लेकिन EFA ने उसे कन्वर्ट करके 4 फैक्टर कर दिए और 6 स्टेटमेंट उसने ड्यू टू पुअर लोडिंग, पुअर फैक्टर लोडिंग और पुअर रिग्रेशन वेट उसने हटा दिए. नाउ माय क्वेश्चनियर माइट हैव 4 फैक्टर्स एंड 21 स्टेटमेंट्स. तो रिलायबिलिटी एंड फैक्टर वैलिडिटी आप इसी जो रिवाइज्ड स्केल है उसकी चेक करेंगे. तो इन स्टडी 2, नाउ इन स्टडी 1 आपने डाटा कलेक्ट किया, आपने क्या किया, उसको फैक्टोरियल वैलिडिटी 2 सब सैंपल में डिवाइड किया, एक पे EFA लगाया, एक पे CFA लगाया. देन आइडियली हमें क्या करना चाहिए, हमें एक स्टडी और करनी चाहिए. एक स्टडी और का मतलब आई नीड टू कलेक्ट डेटा अगेन. अब इससे क्या करना है मुझे, आई विल चेक रिलायबिलिटी एंड द वैलिडिटी ऑफ माय स्केल इन माय कॉन्टेक्स्ट. ठीक है, जनरली हम क्या करते हैं, मान लीजिए कोई क्वेश्चन मैंने बनाया एंड व्हेन आई डेवलप दैट क्वेश्चन माय रिलायबिलिटी वाज से Cronwach alpha was say 0.7. So in your research paper you will write down the same thing, reliability of the questionnaire is 0.7. It is incorrect. Reliability in case of my study was 0.7. It is not true for your study. So you need to calculate Cronwach alpha again for your study. Fine. So very simple, in very simple words, what is reliability and what is validity? Reliability is the consistency of the scores. एक क्वेश्चनियर लिया आपने, अभी 100 रिस्पोंडेंट को दिया. चलो साइंस से समझते हैं, इट विल बी इजियर फॉर अस. आई मेजर माय वेट, इट सेज 75 kg. मैंने 2 घंटे बाद मेजर किया, इट सेज 74.5 kg. मैंने रात को मेजर किया, इट सेज 76 kg. तो देयर आर स्लाइट वेरिएशंस व्हिच कुड बी एक्सप्लेन्ड विद सर्टेन रीजन. रात को मैंने डिनर करके वेट किया तो इट सेज 76. सुबह मैंने ब्रेकफास्ट किए बिना किया 75. So the variation, slight variation in the values, when they could be explained through certain logic, it is acceptable. It is known as reliability of the scale. However, if say 75 kg at one time और अगले दिन मेजर किया 62 दिखा रहा है, तीसरे दिन मेजर किया 82 दिखा रहा है. Now such huge variation, there are huge variations, and these variations could not be explained in terms of some logic. Then the scale will be known as not reliable. So in science में it is quite easy. However, in the social science, suppose I measure motivation level of my employees. Fine, मैंने मेजर किया, 2 मार्च को मेजर किया, 10 मार्च को मेजर किया. तो suppose it was on 5-point scale. So 4.1 पहले आया, 4.2 बाद में आया, तो my scale is reliable enough. Or suppose if there are certain variations एक बार 4.2 आया और मैंने अप्रैल फर्स्ट वीक में गया 5.1 आया. So there are huge variations, but these variations could be explained because employees generally get promotion or increment in the first week of the April. Give me a moment, please. I need to put up the charger. Thank you. So suppose the so I was talking about motivation of the employee. Employees generally get promotion or the increments in the first week of the April. So naturally, the motivation level of the employees will be comparatively higher in the first or the second week of the April. So this variation could be explained on the basis of certain logic. So I cannot say that my scale is unreliable. So reliability is simply consistency of the score when data is collected from the same sample over a period of time. And validity is the degree to which my scale measures what it intend to measure. In simple word, मुझे अपना weight measure करना है and somebody provides me thermometer. थर्मामीटर से मेजर किया मैंने 98.4 फाइन, एक घंटे बाद किया 98 फाइन, थोड़ी देर बाद और किया 98.3. इट इज रिलायबल स्केल क्योंकि बार बार सिमिलर रीडिंग आ रही है, बट इट इज नॉट वैलिड बिकॉज आई टेंड टू मेजर माई वेट एंड नॉट द टेम्परेचर. सो इट इज वैलिडिटी. क्या जो मैं मेजर करना चाहता था मेरा स्केल वही मेजर कर रहा है. सो इन साइंस इट इज ईजी. आई वॉन्ट टू मेजर द प्रेशर तो मुझे बैरोमीटर ही चाहिएगा. आई कैन नॉट मेजर द प्रेशर यूजिंग थर्मामीटर और थ्रू वेइंग मशीन. However, in the social sciences, since all the variables are so interrelated, so close to each other, तो मुझे सोचना पड़ेगा क्या मेरा ये स्केल एम्प्लॉय मोटिवेशन ही मेजर कर रहा है, कहीं एम्प्लॉय मोराल तो मेजर नहीं कर रहा. सो इट इज वैलिडिटी. सो आफ्टर द फैक्टोरियल स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ माय क्वेश्चनेयर आई नीड टू चेक both reliability and the validity of my questionnaire. So how to check reliability and validity? Now there are two types of validity: external reliability and internal reliability. So firstly we'll talk with external reliability. So I have noted down very common and very easy methods to measure reliability and validity. When you go through various books on research methodology or various books on various researches on research methodology, you might come across various methods of reliability and validity analysis. I have compiled only the most used and the most easiest methods to measure reliability and the validity. So test retest method. As see, what we do, I just measured or used my questionnaire to collect the data at this particular time. Again, taking the same example, like I measured the gratitude level of my students, like BBA students or MBA students on say 24th of March 2022. Fine. I use the same scale, say after 10 days, same students, same days. Now I will be comparing or calculating the correlation coefficients between these two gratitude scores. If my correlation coefficient is above 0.75, that means my scale has excellent test retest reliability. If it is between 0.4 to 0.75, I would say average test retest reliability. Now the figure 0.75, 0.4, there could be debate upon these figures because researchers are not unanimous about these figures. Few says that score above 0.8 should say excellent test retest reliability. Few says that the correlation coefficient above 0.85 should be considered as excellent reliability. So again, as there is no unanimity or no consensus among the researchers, based on your research parameter, you can use either. either 0.75 or 0.8 or 0.85. The crux here is you collect the data at from the same sample at 2 points of time, and you calculate the correlation coefficient between the two scores. If the correlation coefficient is significant and quite high and positive, of course, then you would say my scale has very good or excellent or average test retest reliability. Second method is inter-rater. Now, in certain time, it is not feasible to collect the data twice. Suppose I want to check the anxiety level of class 12 student while they give their board exam. तो एक बार मैंने डेटा कलेक्ट किया, 15 दिन के बाद तो उनके बोर्ड एग्जाम क्लियर हो जाएंगे. I will not get second chance to measure the same phenomena. So what to do? I will be using inter-rater reliability method, in which two different researchers will collect the data. This method is generally used where data is subjective in nature. So two different raters will be collecting the data. After their collection of data, we'll be again calculating the correlation coefficients between the score of the responses collected by these two raters. Again, we'll be calculating the correlation coefficients between the two scores. Again, if the correlation coefficient is high, I may conclude that my scale has very good or excellent or average or poor inter-rater reliability. I hope I'm clear up to now. Third is alternate form. In alternate form, what I would do, thanks, Pragya. I hope I think only few people are listening, or others are finding it too boring or too technical. Okay, fine. Alternate form questionnaire. In alternate form reliability testing, what we do, we have one set of questionnaire. We use a parallel or alternate form of the questionnaire. Now, how to generate alternate form of questionnaire? One very simple technique to generate an alternate form of questionnaire is to reorder the sequence of the questionnaire. पहले पे था, उसको 7वें पे डाल दिया, 7वें वाले को 10वें पे डाल दिया, दूसरे वाले को 4थे पे डाल दिया. Reordering of the questions or the statements. Second method could be positive statements ही आपने उसको negative statement में convert कर दिया. So these two methods could be applied. There are various methods through which you can convert an alternate form. करना क्या है, आपने एक क्वेश्चनर लिया, आपने उसका अल्टरनेट फॉर्म क्रिएट किया, रिस्पोंडेंट से सेम रिस्पोंडेंट से एक बार क्वेश्चनर ए फिल कराया, 15 दिन बाद 20 दिन बाद आपने क्वेश्चनर बी विच इज अल्टरनेट फॉर्म फिल कराया आपने. नाउ यू calculate the correlation coefficient between the scores of the two questionnaire. If again correlation coefficient is high, you would say my scale has very high alternate form reliability. Saket, do you have any query? Split half. We'll be discussing about split half. So these are external reliability testing. Then we have internal consistence reliability testing or internal reliability testing. What we do in internal reliability testing, again, there are various methods to check out the internal reliability. First is average inter-item correlation. As the name suggests, what we'll be doing, we'll be calculating the correlation coefficient between the various statements. Like suppose my questionnaire comprises of 7 statements. So I will be calculating the correlation coefficient between statement number 1, statement number 2, statement number 1 and statement number 3, statement number 1 and statement number 4, statement number 1 and statement number 5, and so on. In सारे correlation coefficient का मैंने निकालना है average. If the average is quite high, I would say my questionnaire has very high internal consistency, average inter-item correlation. But in general, we use split half. In general, we use split half reliability, which is Cron-Match alpha. Saket, I'm not clear with what you are saying. 1 minus coefficient of variation. I'm not clear with what you are saying. If you can kindly speak up. Okay, fine. So
yes, sir. I am telling about as you were describing. Yes. As you were describing about the different forms of reliability, so I was eager about if you are have one set of variables. In that situation, we are not having any scope about the correlation. So can we do that coefficient of variation, that one minus coefficient of variation can be determined as the
No, here,
the
Mr.
reliability
Saket, I'm
test?
not talking about the various constructs of the one scale. आप कर क्या सकते हैं, आपके पास एक स्केल है जिसके अंदर मान लीजिए एक ही वेरिएबल है आपका, ठीक है, आपको करना क्या है, सेम क्वेश्चनर को दो बार फिल करवाना है. Now you will have two sets of data. You need to calculate correlation coefficient between these two different set of data. It might measure one single construct. मान लीजिए मैं मेजर करना चाहता हूं एम्प्लॉय सेटिस्फेक्शन and I have 7 statements to measure employee satisfaction. No construct available. So in say inter-rater reliability, these same 7 statements, the respondent will be responding to only these 7 statements. एक inter-rater मैंने fill करा है, एक साकेत जी ने fill करा है. So we have two different sets of data. Now correlation coefficient can be calculated between these two different sets of data. जो आप बात कर रहे हैं वो हम वैलिडिटी टेस्टिंग में टेस्ट करेंगे. क्या जो मेरा स्केल है जिसके अंदर जो कंस्ट्रक्ट है वो आपस में ज्यादा रिलेटेड है या बिल्कुल अनरिलेटेड है. अभी वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट रिलायबिलिटी. आई होप आई एम एबल टू आंसर योर क्वेरी. Okay, then internal consistency reliability data. The most common method. Yes, please.
Yeah, sir. It's clear now.
Okay,
Means
thank you.
it's completely about that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So split half data, what we do, split half method, what we do, we divide our entire questionnaire into two equal parts. Now this division can be done by n number of ways. One way can be you divide like first half, like your questionnaire has say 12 statements, first 6 statements and last 6 statements. Another method could be you club all the even statements 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, these 6 statements in one half and odd statements in another half. So there are n different number of methods through which a questionnaire could be divided into two halves. What you do in split half? Now there are two. You say that you have two sub questionnaires with you. Again, you go to the respondent, you get the data collected. Now you calculate the correlation coefficients between these two half of the questionnaire. Again, you calculate the average. If the average is above 0.7, means if Cronwich alpha is above 0.7, then you say then your data is internally consistent, reliable. Your scale is internal consistency. Your scale has property of internal consistency, reliability. This is the one of the most common method that we use nowadays. In SPSS, it is very easy to calculate Cronwich alpha. If you allow me, I can do it for you. Can you see a screen of SPSS? Okay, fine. So here what we do, we go to analyze. It's very simple to measure Cronwich alpha here. You go to scale, reliability analysis is there. You select the statements. Now this is a scale comprising of 11 statements. 11 statements are selected. You go to statistics. You select here scale if item deleted. I will be discussing what it means. You go to continue. You say okay. Can you see the result sheet? Can you see the result sheet? I think probably not. I think you can see result sheet now. So here it is say Cronwich alpha is 0.869. Can you see it? Cronwich alpha value 0.869. So here my Cronwich alpha value is greater than 0.7. So I can easily say that my data or my scale has internal consistency reliability. I asked you to check on the if item deleted. Now see here, these are all the values of Cronwich alpha if item deleted. What is the relevance of Cronwich alpha if item deleted? Suppose somehow ये जो वैल्यू मेरी 0.7 से ज्यादा आई है, सपोज ये वैल्यू 0.69 आ जाती, तो इट मीन्स माई स्केल इज नॉट रिलायबल. So one option is to reject this scale. Second option is Cronwich alpha if item deleted. ये क्या शो करता है? अगर मैं स्टेटमेंट नंबर 1 को S1 को अपने क्वेश्चनियर से हटा दूं तो व्हाट वुड बी द Cronwich alpha. अगर मैं स्टेटमेंट 2 को हटा दूं तो व्हाट कुड बी द Cronwich alpha. 3 को हटा दूं तो क्या होगा? तो आप यहां चेक करेंगे जिसमें भी आपका Cronwich alpha सबसे ज्यादा होगा, अगर यहाँ 0.7 से कम आता है तो उस स्टेटमेंट को आप अपने क्वेश्चनियर से डिलीट कर देंगे, बिकॉज वो उस पर्टिकुलर स्टेटमेंट के कारण your questionnaire or your scale is not reliable enough. So you will be deleting that particular statement from your questionnaire or from your scale. This is the relevance of ticking on Cronwich alpha if item deleted. I hope it is clear now. And another method of measuring internal consistence reliability is composite reliability. Nowadays, researchers says that it is insufficient to measure only Cronwich alpha value. We need to substantiate Cronwich alpha value with composite reliability value. Do you know how to calculate composite reliability value? Hello? Now, another method to measure internal consistence reliability is to calculate Cronwich alpha value. Now, how to calculate Cronwich alpha value? It is very, very, very simple. Although methods are available to measure the composite reliability value, you just need to go to the Google. Let me do it for you. I hope my screen is visible to you. You simply go to Google, you simply write Cronwich composite reliability CR and AVE calculator. What is AVE? We'll be discussing in our next slide. AV, CR and AVE calculator. You simply click on the first link. Here you will get a calculator. This calculator you got, what I need to do? I need to put here standard loading. EFA लगाया आपने, वहां से आप फैक्टर लोडिंग आपको पता लग जाएगी. फैक्टर लोडिंग की वैल्यू यहां पुट करनी है आपने. It will give you the value of composite reliability. Suppose my factor loading value was 789. Suppose it is 7909. Suppose it was 0.645. Suppose it was 0.6890. So it will be value of my composite reliability. Again, the acceptable values for composite reliability and Cronwich alpha are same, which is 0.7. If your value of Cronwich alpha and composite reliability comes out to be greater than 0.7, that you can conclude or you can suggest that your data is, your scale is internally consistent reliability. Your scale has a property of consistency or reliability. I hope I'm through with you are clear with the concept of reliability. Should I move ahead now? Then turn comes to calculate the validity. Validity is the degree to which my scale measures what I intend to measure. जो मैं measure करना चाहता हूं, क्या मेरा scale वही measure कर रहा है? So again, there are various methods to measure the validity. First and the easiest method is face validity. चेहरे से देख के बताना. So you might use, you might take help of certain experts who based on their expertise will look into the scale and they will suggest you कि हाँ भाई देखने से पता लग रहा है कि your scale is intended to measure this phenomena only. However, again, this is subjective in nature. So we have a number of objective methods through which we calculate criteria validity and content validity. Now, how to calculate criteria validity and content validity? So in order to measure construct validity, we have now two phenomena, two types of construct validity. One is convergent validity and second is discriminant validity. And to measure criteria validity, what we do? Suppose I want to measure the criteria validity of a scale, say gratitude scale. तो criteria validity के लिए मुझे क्या करना पड़ेगा जज करने के लिए? I will, based on various theories, based on various theoretical concepts, I will be knowing that what all variables should be positively related with gratitude. Like previous theory से मुझे पता लगा कि happiness should be related to gratitude and stress should be negatively related with gratitude. Fine. Based on my previous literature exploration, my previous observations and previous discussions, I came to know that gratitude is positively related with happiness and gratitude is negatively related with stress. So, अगर मेरा scale gratitude को ही measure कर रहा है, in that case, the score of my scale should be positively related with the score of happiness scale and it should be negatively significantly related with the stress scale. Fine. So इसमें मुझे क्या करना है? As I discussed with you, कि two studies are to be conducted. In first study, you will do exploratory factor analysis and confirmatory factor analysis. And study two, what will you do? You do reliability and validity testing. So while collecting the data for scale 2, in addition to scale that you are using, you need to collect data for two additional scales also. Like in case of my example, in addition to the gratitude scale, I will be collecting data related to the happiness of the respondent as well as stress of the respondent. So in order to check the criteria validity, what I would be doing, I would be simply calculating the correlation coefficient between gratitude scale and happiness scale. If it comes out to be positive and significant, similarly, I will be calculating correlation coefficient between gratitude and stress. And again, if it comes out to be negative and significant, then I can conclude that my scale possesses construct validity also, or criteria validity also. Or in other words, my scale has criteria valid. So when I am through with the reliability and validity testing, then I can conclude or I can say that yes, my scale has adequate psychometric properties and it is valid in the present context. So this is all about how you generate a new scale or how you validate an existing scale or how you can use a scale which is conceptually similar to your scale. So just having a recap of whatever we have discussed till now. We started with that there could be three forms of the questionnaire. One is the new scale development. Second is adoption or rephrasing of a scale of a conceptually similar scale. And third is validation of an existing scale. So there were six steps, basic 6 steps of scale construction. First was going through the existing literature, focus group discussion for operational definition and conceptual clarity. Second is item generation, and third was content validation, in which we need to go to the subject matter expert for validation. So first 3 steps were qualitative in nature, they were highly subjective in nature, and they form essential, these first 3 steps were essentially a part of new scale development. And next 3 steps were, step number 4 was factorial structure, in which we will divide our sample into 2 parts and will conduct EFA on subsample 1 and CFA on subsample 2. And in 5th step, we did reliability and validity testing. And in 6th step, we do invariance study. So whether it is a new scale development or rephrasing of the existing scale or use of existing scale, step number 4, 5, and 6 are compulsory for us. Now, some important considerations are, we can also use the questionnaire to reduce common method variance. What is common method variance? It is a error that arises when we collect all the data at the same time. Like suppose if my study comprises of independent variable and dependent variable. So in order to have a conclusive evidence of cause effect relationship, तो मुझे data कैसे collect करना चाहिए? पहले independent variable, then after a period of time, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, then I should collect dependent variable. But in India, we generally do such researches. We are generally based on cross-sectional researches where we collect independent and dependent variable simultaneously because of time or money or other resources constraints. So there are errors of common method wise variances. When I started writing papers in my initial years, so a number of papers were rejected because of common method variance. कि उन्होंने कहा कि आपने independent और dependent variable एक साथ मेजर किया है, कलेक्ट किया डाटा, तो your data is prone to common method variance. So when I go through the literature, so one remedy is available, luckily, that the remedy is known as psychological separation. What I mean by psychological separation is when I tend to measure my independent and dependent variables simultaneously, I need to give a different cover story. कि मैं respondent को ये बताऊं कि data one is the independent variable. Suppose A variable is not related to my dependent variable B. These are part of two different studies. In order to save time and cost, I have clubbed them together. तो ये इससे फायदा क्या होगा? रिस्पोंडेंट के माइंड में एक सेपरेशन बन जाएगा. नहीं तो क्या होगा, वो जब मैं क्वेश्चनर दे दूंगा जिसके अंदर दो वेरिएबल उन्होंने डाटा देना है, दो वेरिएबल्स का, तो in their mind, somehow in their unconscious mind, they will be linking both these variables. So the reading or the data of one variable is going to affect the data of second variable. So your results will not be so generalizable. So as soon as I create a psychological separation in their mind, stating that these two data are related to two different studies, they have only been clubbed to save the time and the money. एक बार दिमाग में साइकोलॉजिकल सेपरेशन हुआ, तब द इन्फ्लुएंस ऑफ इंडिपेंडेंट वेरिएबल ऑन डिपेंडेंट वेरिएबल विल डिक्रीज. साइकोलॉजिकल इंप्रेशन. Then my data may be free from the psychological common method variance. However, there are certain ethical issues regarding it. Ki I'm bluffing my respondents. So the solution is, as soon as you collect the data, you make it clear that that this was the two variables were part of a single study, and why you did it was because to create psychological separation in your mind so that my data could be free of common method variance. Fine. Then there are ethical concerns also when you collect the data. The data collection process should be absolutely volunteer in nature. No respondent should be forced to reply. Second is anonymity. In general, we should not collect the names of the respondent or any personal information of the respondent, and informed consent of the participant should be taken. After you give a brief introduction of your study, the next and the foremost thing we must do, we must take their informed consent, stating that I hereby agree to give data, and you must get that box checked if it is in online mode, or you must get the sign of the respondent stating that yes, I voluntarily agree to be a part of your survey. Then how many point scale you are going to use, whether it will be a 3-point scale, whether it would be a 5-point scale or a 7-point scale or a 9-point scale, again it depends upon your study. If you are measuring a variable which is highly complex in nature, or then you would use a higher rating scale, 9-point scale, 7-point scale. If your variable is quite abstract in nature, then 3 or 5-point scale will work for you. And the first and the last and the foremost thing is the length of the questionnaire. We all the researcher come across this problem that all the respondents complain regarding the length of the questionnaire. So ideally, we should try to minimize the length of the questionnaire so that we can get very good data. One personal experience I have, when the data, the length of the questionnaire is more than 30 questions. I have seen it various times. Up to 25 to 30 questions, it's okay with the respondent. As soon as you surpass this limit, now the respondent complaints arises, and again, if they do not complain, the quality of data is compromised, because in India we do not have sufficient funding to appoint certain data collection agencies. However, I have seen that, I have even talked to various foreign researchers. They say that they readily get funding for data collection. Particularly in the Indian context, we must use data. We must use a questionnaire that comprises of not more than 20 or 25 or 30 statements. So this is all from my side. I must say this is not the end. This is the beginning. Although this is the end of this presentation, but if in case you have any doubt, I have given my email ID here. You are most welcome to raise your queries through this email ID. If you find any doubt while you are working on a questionnaire, not now, maybe after 1 month or after 2 months, I will be more than happy to assist you in any form. You can simply mail me on this email ID. Thank you. Thank you for listening to me so patiently. Your questions are most welcome now. How to ensure that new form scale is good and can be accepted by the... I have explained it in well detail. As soon as you develop a new scale, you do its factorial structure, you do psychometric analysis, and you get that your work published in a very reputed journal. As soon as you do these four steps, your scale will be readily accepted by all. One error what we do very good statistical analysis, but but because of paucity of time or unawareness, we get these papers published in an unindexed journal. So I suggest or I request you to get at least your paper published in at least Scopus Index journal, so that it could have a wide visibility. See, one of the reason of our low citation is because we do not get our paper published in Science Citation Journal or Social Science Citation Index Journal or even Scopus Index Journal. So as soon as you develop a new scale, you simply go for very good journal. At least Scopus, हमारा target कम से कम Scopus Index Journal होना ही चाहिए. Subhash ji want me to explain bibliometric analysis. Subhash ji, it is again, it will take another 2-3 hours to explain bibliometric analysis. So maybe next time, or you have my email ID with you. You just give me your email ID. So whenever I will be taking a session of bibliometric analysis, I will surely call you and we'll discuss about bibliometric analysis. It will take 2-3 hours to discuss all the nitty and gritties of bibliometric analysis. In nutshell, bibliometric analysis is all about what previous researches says about your topic. आज तक जितनी भी प्रीवियस रिसर्चेज हुई हैं आपकी फील्ड में, क्या क्या डेफिनेशन दिए, कौन कौन से कंस्ट्रक्ट दिए हैं, कितनी कंट्रीज में हुई हैं, किस किस देश किस किस ईयर में हुई हैं, मेजर किन वेरिएबल के साथ कोरिलेशन किया है, कौन से वेरिएबल मीडिएशन मॉडरेटर कैसे स्टडी हुआ है, उन सब के बारे में वो एक जिस्ट दे देता है हमें. So systematic literature review and bibliometric analysis are very good papers or very good studies to start our topic with. Any other doubt, please? Vagish is asking how to filter biased data of respondent, researcher and SMEs. Again, there are few statistical methods and few non-statistical methods. In statistical methods, you can go for outliers. आप सिंपल चेक कीजिए कि आपकी कौन कौन सी स्टेटमेंट्स, कौन कौन से रिस्पॉन्सेज आउटलायर हैं. बाय आउटलायर आई मींस कि आपका मान लीजिए मीन आया 3.5, बट कुछ स्टेटमेंट 6 पे भी जा रही हैं, तो these are outliers. इतना ज़्यादा standard deviation, we do not expect such high standard deviation in our. So you check for outliers. Outliers could be checked either through graphs or various statistical techniques are available in SPSS itself. Or certain time you judge it. आप अपना क्वेश्चनियर देखते हैं, you expect, और previous researches आपको बताती है कि मीन लगभग इतना आता है. सपोज आई मेजर ग्रेटिट्यूड मीन 3.4, 3.5, 5 पॉइंट स्केल में मैंने देखा है प्रीवियस रिसर्चेस में। अगर मेरा स्केल एवरेज 4.5, 4.7 आ रहा है तो इट इज ए मैटर ऑफ कंसर्न फॉर मी कि 5 में से 4.5 इज ए क्वाइट हाई वैल्यू। नाउ आई नीड टू चेक आउट क्या मेरा स्केल ठीक से भरा हुआ है। अब यहाँ पे हम कभी कभी नेगेटिव स्टेटमेंट्स का यूज कर लेते हैं। वंस आई गेट कलेक्टेड फ्रॉम बैंकर्स, तो मैंने एक वन ऑफ माय फ्रेंड्स वाज वर्किंग इन ए बैंक, मैंने उसे क्वेश्चनर दिए 10, मैंने कहा यू गेट इट फिल्ड विद योर फ्रेंड्स। उसने 4 दिन बाद मुझे क्वेश्चनर दिए तो मैंने देखा कि सेम हैंड राइटिंग में सारे क्वेश्चनर फिल किए हुए हैं और रैंडमली 5, 5, 5, 4, 4, 4 पे ऐसे टिक किया हुआ। बिकॉज आई यूज्ड नेगेटिव स्टेटमेंट, तो एक पॉजिटिव स्टेटमेंट थी आई एम हैप्पी विद माय सर्विसेज। अगली स्टेटमेंट थी बैंक डू नॉट प्रोवाइड एडवोकेट अपॉर्चुनिटीज टू ग्रो। अब दोनों में 5, 5 नहीं हो सकता। इफ यू आर हैप्पी and your bank do not provide you adequate opportunities, so these two are, one is positive worded, second is negative worded statement। तो वहां मुझे पता लग गया नहीं, these are biased, ये केयरलेसली फील किए हुए स्टेटमेंट्स हैं, तो आई नीड टू डिस्कार्ड सच क्वेश्चनर्स। सो Mr. Vagesh, there are Mishra ji, there are certain statistical methods, but largely depends upon your expertise, and in most of the cases हम शायद पता भी ना कर पाए biased है या नहीं है, whether this is biased or their true opinion। social sciences में issue रहता ही रहता है। Okay, fine, any other doubt please? Vaji, I have taken your email ID, will surely contact you for bibliometric analysis। Okay, in case thank you if you don't have any doubt, thank you for hearing to me so patiently।
Thank you so much, sir. I hope each and every participant has made a good amount of information and the concept that clear to them about this crucial topic of questionnaire design and how to go ahead with designing a questionnaire and what are things to be considered while accepting the response of questionnaire. So I hope everybody has got a good glimpse about it from your session. Thank you so much, sir. It was a pleasure having you here, having this session with us. The whole LCIT team and CSVTU and AICTE is glad to have you in this whole online PPT session.
Sure, ma'am. Same here. It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you. Thank you.
And we are looking forward for more such associations with you, sir.
My pleasure, ma'am. My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So one more request, if you can share this PPT with us so we can share it with the participants.
Sure, ma'am. Sure. We'll do it.
Thank you so much, sir. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Participants are requested to fill the quiz and feedback. The link is being provided by Namrata ma'am in the chat box. Request you all to fill both the forms. We'll be waiting so that you can copy both the links. And once more, she'll be posting in 2 to 3 minutes so that if at all somebody missed, can get the links again after 2 to 3 minutes. You can copy the links and you can fill.